That's the car that's gonna crash. We have to get out of here.
Thank God.
What? No. I got $500.
No one cares about
We're
how
not
much
leaving
money
the fuck
that
out of here, okay? There's something gonna happen. We're all gonna die, all right? It's gonna be a crash. Hey, kid, that ain't fun. No, we gotta go right now. We gotta go.
Makes sense. Welcome back to the Haddonfield Horrors podcast, where we review horror movies and horror franchises. I'm Mark,
I'm Tawan.
and today we're reviewing The Final Destination, released in 2009, directed by David R. Ellis and written by Eric Brass. Tawan, can you give the people the plot summary?
Watching a car race at McKinley Speedway, Nick O'Bannon has a premonition of a car crash that will result in many casualties, including several people that are in the audience. Nick convinces his girlfriend Lori, along with his friends Hunt and Janet, to leave. A security guard named George Lanter, along with the racist named Carter, a mother and her two sons, and several other people follow Nick out. Shortly after they leave, Nick's premonition comes true. When survivors start dying, Nick must try to find the remaining survivors and save them from death before it's too late.
The Final Destination, aka Final Destination 4. If you guys who remember back in the first podcast for Final Destination, me and Tuan were talking about how there was one that we both actively put in the bottom. This is the one because it's so bad. Like, the characters are boring and the CGI is bad, which is so surprising when it had a lot of practical effects applied to it. But somehow it all just still looks bad, and it just wasn't coming together for me. Like, this movie, like, it feels like it should be good, but it isn't good. It's part of that post Avatar craze where everything had to be 3D, and like, this type of movie should work for 3D, but just like Saw 3D, it just didn't hit. But what about you, Tawan? What are your thoughts on The Final Destination?
I'm under the impression that no horror movie should be in 3D. I don't think I've seen any good horror movie presented well in 3D.
I think we're 3 for 3 on this podcast.
What, as far as horror movies in 3D?
Yep, and they've all been
Yeah,
bad.
yeah, the
Friday the
fucking
13th
Friday Up
3D, and
Saw. And we actually, and fun fact, we actually just recently watched Saw 3D in actual 3D. They showed a
oh, we
screening of it
did.
here in Chicago, so we
Not
saw it
worth
in
it
3D.
in
And
all its
this was like,
glory.
yeah, this was like a month ago at this point, and wow, it didn't make it any better. It was like, why was this in 3D? It made
It
us
felt
wonder
like
even more.
it definitely is like, okay, then watching it and not in like in regular film is so much better than the 3D. Like, the 3D like takes away from whatever the fuck's happening. It's not good.
Very much that. But yeah, just want to get that out of the way. I feel like no horror movie should be in 3D, and this is like actively one of them because it just this. I feel like when you watch all the movies, you can tell the weakest link, and it's definitely this one. It just didn't come together really well. I don't. I don't. Well, the first thing is like the practicality of um the opening
The
sequence.
kills, the premonition.
Yeah, the premonition, because well, as we mentioned in our Final Destination 3, with the whole roller coaster. Now, yes, the possibilities of like a derailment of a roller coaster happening probably very low, and you could say that about a lot of incidents that happen in these movies. Besides, like the second one, maybe because car crashes happen all the time, but this one I feel has the lowest probability of most things that may happen um, in these movies. But also, it's kind of one of those things where I feel it didn't really play into any fear factor any type of way because we get in the first movie airplanes. So many people are afraid of airplanes. One of our old co-hosts who's taking a little leave, but Maria, she does not like airplanes.
It's not an own.
Yeah, so Maria does not like airplanes. So it's kind of one of those things, people are afraid of flying. So that's the thing. Um, Not saying people are like afraid to drive. Some people are, but like in case second movie, that type of thing happens all the time. The possibilities of something like that happening is like a little more is higher. And then we get to the third movie, roller coasters. We mentioned so many people are afraid of roller coasters. They don't like getting on them. So, but when there's this one, it's like a NASCAR race. Like nobody, I don't think people are afraid of NASCAR race. Like, in the
Really
possibility
not.
that they would like die there, something like that. So I just feel as though that like factor of it didn't really come into it at all, and it was just I feel like it was just one of those things where whoever was behind the story, they're like, okay, this sounds cool for Final Destination, so this is what we're gonna do, and that's kind of like what I got out of it, and just that whole setup didn't really even do it, and also just the premonition itself was kind of mediocre. Like it just didn't really hit as well as the other ones did for me. Um, the kills and stuff were there, but like
Yes.
they weren't
Let's
good.
let's talk about that premonition because I feel like the CGI ness
Yeah,
of it all takes away from it. And watching the behind the scenes stuff, like most of that was done practically. And it's just like the overuse of CGI blood and also the way it was edited together. Like like nothing was in like that like nothing good was in that premonition. It was boring and it was like lackluster.
yeah, like it didn't really get you because you're watching the Final Nation. It felt like the premonition gets you in the mood for the rest of the movie, but like this one, I was like, like people died in crazy ways as they usually do in these movies, but like I was not caring really, and and it's also like going into the previous ones as well, like some of the characters, stuff once we get to that, you probably don't build a connection with them as you would some other movies, but when stuff happened, I was like shocked. But in this one, like it was shocking in the way that some people went out, but also I wasn't like really so I don't want to say surprised because like old girl had a fucking engine kill her, like that was crazy, but um it still wasn't nothing that wowed me, I guess. Which sounds weird to say, but it really wasn't compared to what we had in previous installments.
Yeah, like you said, the premonition is what gets you started and pumped for the rest of the movie. It sets the tone and like the precedent of the entire movie, and this one was just so boring. I just couldn't. Again, for me, it's like the CGI-ness and like the overproduction takes away for how good the premonition could be, and we could see the premonition be good. Like it didn't have to be like all action packed. Just have the impactful kills there. Like get my attention. Like I don't know. This
Yeah,
movie was just missing so much.
I agree fully, like with that, and going back, like running around back to it, the 3D didn't really help or assist it because they had to add all that CGI stuff to get those 3D effects, and it didn't. It just made it look a little bit worse. And
Yeah, that's what I think the main issue is. Like if the 3D was done practically, it probably would look somewhat better. But the fact that all the 3D was digital for the most part, it kind of takes it away.
I also feel because like another thing with the 3D is they added like the unnecessary stuff, like with Nick getting those random premonitions of objects that could just like go out the screen.
Oh my God.
Like that was so clearly there for just the 3D factor of it all. Like it didn't matter really, but we
I was gonna save that for the scene section, but let's just have a whole like 3D section because those scenes were so annoying. And the like choppy editing, like I was watching an episode of Charmed from like 2002 when old girl was having a premonition. Like, what the fuck is this? I'm like, this is cheesy and bad, and we haven't seen this before, right? Like the other three people, the first three people didn't have these kind of like visual premonitions, right? It was just like signs they were having or something like that.
Yeah, it was more so like signs, like um, you know, well, we just spoke about it in Final Destination 3 where
The
she, had
pictures.
the pictures, but it wasn't like full on like premonitions. And like in 2, she was like seeing certain things, but it was like in the real world. It wasn't like her like going out of it and seeing like a whole different premonition and playing like a guessing game kind of. It was kind of like stuff that was happening around her that was giving her clues. But yeah, this was weird, and you get you get the impression immediately that this was just put in to add that extra layer for some 3D visuals.
I don't know, but 3D just took away so much from this movie. And like we've seen 4 previous movies where the 3D and the CGI-ness, like overly use of CGI, wasn't needed. Like with the second and the third movie, they used CGI to just enhance small things. They couldn't make the logs really work bouncing off the truck. Make some CGI logs. But
And
overall,
literally couldn't tell.
yes, because everything else around the logs was
Like,
practical. And then
exactly.
they also had practical logs like on set to like help with that. It's seamless. And like the third movie, the roller coaster effects, most of that was CGI, but still, it was. See, I can't even say that because this movie was surrounded by like practical stuff with CGI added. It's just, I guess, with the 3D, they had to make it look like have a certain gloss or something to it. It just the whole movie looks fake as fuck. If I'm being, it all looks plasticky,
Hmm.
which hurts, which hurts the 3D-ness of it all and the CG. Like it all looks plastic. That's the
Yeah.
best way I can describe it. Like it's bad. I would I was gonna say it looked glossy, but it doesn't. Like glossy was Scream 4, whatever fucking lens they used for that fucking movie. But this is just looks plasticky. I take the glossiness over this shit. But let's move on to scenes. Scenes that we may have liked or disliked or indifferent by. Dawn?
Um, One scene that I liked, um, was like the premonition that Nick was having about the like the theater when the countdown went off and it actually blew up. I don't know why that's kind of one of those like it's unintentionally funny to me.
Especially when
Just
old girl puts the glasses back. She puts the glasses back on.
yeah, she's like, I have to see this movie, but I kind of feel her though. That's me.
I mean, facts. For me, I say that the theater, like right before like the actual theater burning scene, the whole sequence leading up to it was very intense for me. It was the first time I felt any intensity from this movie when like he was trying to stop the fire and then he
Hmm.
was shot with the nails and then he was smart enough to get that long gas thing and put it to the fire spring to the water sprinkler. Like that's one of my favorite scenes. It was very like a lot of intensity going on there. It was I don't know. I was freaking the fuck out. Like, is he gonna do it?
Yeah, that was a like they definitely kind of nailed the like that anxiety factor in that scene. But outside of that one, yeah, I don't really think there was much else that I liked as far as scenes are concerned.
Yeah, I
Um,
have more scenes that I dislike.
well, let's hear them.
Like every scene with the blonde hair friend. Like
Oh,
I get this. I get this is a 2000 movie. Like this is like 2009, one of the last. And that was a decade of like very sexual innuendo type of things, but like that character was so annoying. Like he was a douchebag, and all he wanted to do was have sex. And then when he did have sex, like, sir, you were barely in there for 5 minutes, and you're like huffing and puffing like you did some great work there. Like, and then the way he died was stupid. Like every scene with that character was annoying the fuck out of me. And then like the random rate, like the racist character,
That was so
like
random.
talk about a comedic moment, like him being dragged, like his death was comedic. And I don't know, even this I do like that one scene. Well, it also involves the racist guy, but the scene with the security guard George, where like he's reading a book and you see photos of his wife. Then he's talking about his wife to the mechanic guy who also lost his wife. It's like, damn, did they only really give any character development to this black character who they didn't kill? Like y'all made me feel sympathetic for the one black character I knew y'all were gonna kill in this movie. Damn. But like all his scenes were great. But then everyone, I'm just like, is everyone else aware that they on a movie set? Because he the only one who really acted over here.
Well, I mean,
But
that is Bubba from Forrest Gump.
facts, and he is. But I'm just like, damn. And like, I know at least, I don't even know, but yeah, those are all the scenes I have, good or bad. I don't have anything else.
Yeah, I I really I really don't have any more myself. I probably have more to say about the kills than anything.
Well, speaking of the kills, one of my favorite kill, not kill, is the escalator scene. That
Facts.
that one that freaks me out today. Like escalators freak me out. And then I was also like, also not because just be this, but then also I used to watch this reality show, Shamefully, The Real Housewives of New York City. And one of the housewives, she fucking lost one of her legs due to an escalator accident. So I'm just like, that was a 1-2 punch. Like, nah, fucking escalator, where are the
I know,
stairs?
I know what you're talking about, but I didn't know that's how it happened. I never
Yeah,
knew
that's how
that
she
she
lost
lost
her
her leg.
she she lost her leg because of an escalator. So then watching this scene and also knowing that this happened to somebody in real life is like fucking escalator, y'all. Like fuck that. I'm sorry. Mm-mm. But also, I mean, I just mentioned it, but the racist guy getting killed, like his death was so comedic because like the music in the background was so unserious while he's being dragged down the street and set on fire. Like who thought that was okay? What about you?
Um, I think my favorite out of this one was probably when Hunt died from the pool, because I feel as though I understand. Like, one, actually,
The
I'm gonna
butt
say I don't.
home.
Yeah, but I'm gonna say I don't understand one thing about his kill, because he went and jumped in the pool to get a coin. Now I forget the significance of the coin, but I remember that it was like his lucky coin. Blah blah blah. Yeah, and I just feel as though I don't. You wouldn't have, I understand it has personal significance, but like I feel as though jumping in the pool for it, I don't think you probably would have got it. I'm just gonna be honest with you. You probably would have been better off waiting for the pool to close or something to try to get it. I don't know, but outside of that, just the kill in itself was crazy. Like I remember seeing that in the trailers for the movie, and I was like, what is happening to him? How is he about to die?" And he literally got his guts sucked out of his ass. Like that is such a way to go. Like that is such a way to go. Like that has to be one of the most comedic ways to go out of this movie, besides the racist guy that basically killed himself. But that is definitely a way to go, and only Final Destination could give us something like that. So I applaud them for that. Um, Another was the I did like the last scene when they got ran over by like the 18-wheeler, like the truck, because I did like the X-ray visual that they presented at the end. I don't know why that just looked really cool to me, and it still does. Now, I do wish we could have seen how that actually would have looked, but I'm not mad at the way that they presented that. And like you said, the escalator that was that one does still live in my head rent free because that they made that look so crazy, and I was like, yo. I actually had to look up what the inside escalators look like after that, and I was like, oh, okay, it don't look like what it did in the movie, but because that looked crazy. I was like, why does escalators have all this shit going on in it? But yeah, that was a crazy scene. One that I didn't like was um the one where the mom got killed by the rock. I think that was the most boring one out of here. But that one, that one in George's because George's just felt like a secondary version of I forget the character's name, but from the first movie where she got hit by the bus.
The blonde chick, yes, yes.
Yeah, I forget her character's name, but that just kind of felt like another version of that. But yeah, the mom when she got killed by the rock, like it was interesting to say the least. But I kind of wonder. I feel like there's something else that could have been done inside of the hair salon that maybe would have been a little bit more cooler than just getting the rock through the eye.
Yeah, the rock and eye was kind of lame, especially when they were teasing so much when and it could have been so much better. It was just like, huh. And then that corny, I got my eye on you.
Oh my
Right
god.
before it happened, like I was like, okay, writers, okay. And I love me some Krista Allen. Like I've been a fan of hers for a long time. I love a soap opera queen, as y'all know. And I was just like, girl, this is what they got you saying. Mm-mm, mm-mm. But let's go to the characters. And first up is Hunt, the blonde friend. Um, Honestly, I think I said all I could. He was just an annoying, sex crazed douchebag, an asshole who got his asshole sucked out of him. About you, Tuan.
Yeah, to be fair, that's kind of about it about Hunt. Like he didn't really care about the situation. He was just you know, he really was just kind of trying to do him after everything. He didn't really like believe into it as much as the rest of them were, and he just wanted to go to the pool. He wanted to smash, and he got his guts sucked out of his ass.
Yeah, well, let's move on to George. What are your thoughts on George?
I like George. Honestly, he probably should have been like our main character or something because he was the only one that was acting
But
good.
honestly, it's felt like that it felt like that was the only character they cared to flesh out. Like we
Yeah,
knew so much about George by the end, and like nobody else.
yeah. I'm glad he went out quick. He didn't deserve all that other shit.
And like George could have survived on his own if he let them went to alone. There.
TBH, I feel
Uh,
like he could have been the protagonist.
he really could have. Like,
Especially,
I don't.
you know what? Now that I said that, I just like hit me in my head. I feel like it would have probably fit him more to be the protagonist because he was a security guard and he would have like got people out of there.
Mm-hmm.
That would have already went with his job.
Like they could have flipped it where George noticed that he was reacting to stuff and was trying to get everybody out. That way, it could have pivoted. Like I don't know. It just felt like George had more of a presence than the actual main person.
Yeah, that I agree with.
Well, let's move on to Janet. She was the other friend that survived. She was kind of not really there with in the for the movie. She like I don't know. It felt like they spent more time with George than they did with Hunt or Janet, who are their actual friends. And every scene that Janet was in, I kind of found her annoying. Like when she didn't die in a car wash, I was kind of mad. Like damn, she's alive. Like we're still gonna be stuck with her. And when she died in that vision, I was like, yes, thank God.
I was kind of mad. No, I was also kind of mad about that because I just wanted to see how that death scene would have played out in the car wash. Because it's like it was like just like Hunt's, like that's only something you get out of Final Destination. And then the scene with Janet was also only something you probably would have got out of Final Destination. So I feel as though, like when it was getting up there, I was like, oh shit, what are they about to do? But when we didn't get that because she got saved, I was like, oh, I kind of wish that they went a little further because I wanted to see how that was going to play out.
Yeah, it looked like it was gonna be a really good scene, and I don't know. I wasted opportunity, but also they should have just wasted that character. He reminded me of Carter. Like, why are you here at the end? Actually, that's exactly what it was. Like, oh, that's exactly what it was. Just in like a reverse. Instead of the two guys, it was two girls, and they also ended the movie in a cafe.
Oh, true, true.
Hmm. That just hit me. But let's move on to Lori. What are your thoughts on Lori?
Thoughts on Lori? That's a great question. Well, what I will say is she was very much there for Nick throughout the whole thing. Like she did, like she had some reservations at like right at the beginning where everything was happening, but she definitely was like sticking by his side and trying as much to figure it out as he was. And she actually went into action along with George when they saved Janet. Um, so she was definitely a proactive, like secondary, like lead, just like we had in some of the just as we had in some of the other ones as well. But she felt a little more proactive than some of the other ones that they have. Maybe she's like up there with Kevin, I would say, from the number three, because Kevin was like trying to help like a lot, and I felt like
Mhm.
was too. So I don't know. I won't like count her character out, but I don't know if it was maybe just the actress or something. She just wasn't really doing it for me. But the actual like character and like decisions and stuff that were being made, like she was kind of on it, especially like in the theater. Like she didn't feel something was right. Like she decided to leave. Like she was a little on it. Not gonna lie.
I don't. I've seen this actress in other projects, and she is a good actress. It might have been the director, it might have been the script, but like something was missing. It wasn't coming together for old girl, and she was low key pissing me off the entire time. But yeah, you're right. She was active. She was helping out. She was just being there, but something was missing.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about our main protagonist, Nick. What are your thoughts on Nick?
Yeah, he's definitely the weakest protagonist at all in them to me. Um, and that is well, not foreshadowing anything with the one after this one, but he just felt the weakest to me. Like I don't know, he. This is also another case where I feel like the actor wasn't pulling it for me, and I don't know. You watch a lot of TV, Mark. So was he in like TV shows or something before this? Was that how he got this role?
Well, that's how that's how Lori got her role. Like, she was on One Tree Hill for those like last couple of seasons. And I think he looked familiar and I was trying to place him. Let me look it up
No,
because it's gonna drive me crazy. I
I
know I
was
saw him in something.
I
He
ain't
was in
seen
the
him, but it
he
was
was in the
after
Scream
this.
season. He was in the
Yeah,
Scream, but that was
that was
after,
way
right?
after this. I feel like I didn't know this actor at all prior to this movie.
And honestly, I ain't known him since. Shit, 'cause I ain't seen him in anything else
Yeah, I think the
post
last thing I
this.
might have saw him in was that Scream TV show.
It looks like he did a couple guest spots. Like this was his big like theatrical debut, which makes
Ooh.
so much sense.
Yeah, but
But
I didn't. The actor, he wasn't really selling this character for me. I don't know. He wasn't giving like the main. He wasn't giving like main character energy, and I feel like him being in a lot of scenes with George a lot, especially, didn't help because he's that actor is really good. So him being in scenes where him, you could kind of tell where the weaknesses are coming in, and he definitely felt like one of them for me. And that kind of makes the character of Nick not feel as strong as well as the lead, especially coming off of Mary Elizabeth Weinstein in 3. Like it didn't really sell as much for me, and I think I cared about his character less because of it.
he was definitely the weakest link. Like I don't know. When you put them next to the previous three, they were all strong and they all had their purpose. Like even Kimberly from part two. Like yes, she had help, but when push came to shove, she was willing to drown herself in that motherfucking lake if need be to protect everybody, to protect the other person or whatever had to be done. And
Or he did make that. I will say he did make that smart decision at the end. He did help out
he
good.
he did, but it just like I don't know. I felt like we had seen. I felt like the other three took action a lot faster than him, and they did a lot more independent legwork. And they also had some even if acting was questionable, the actors were somewhat like had some kind of charisma, but this
Hmm.
actor was just flat. So like
Yeah,
I
I
didn't
think
really
that's
care
where.
about him.
Yeah, I think that's where I'm kind of at with it too. It was like that charisma factor I wasn't really getting from him.
It's like these movies don't have a lot of substance. It don't have a lot of much. But the one thing I expect from these movies is for me to have some type of connection with the vision person. Like you're the
Hmm.
one I'm following. Like like the black guy who comes in who we barely see for that long shouldn't be my main focus of this movie. Like I should know more about George than I know about the main character. Like it's dumb.
Yeah, I agree.
Any more thoughts?
Not on him.
Well, in that case, can you give us the behind the scenes info and facts?
The budget for the Final Destination was 40 million. It brought in the box office of 187 million. Some interesting facts. The film's McKinley Speedway accident is similar to a real life disaster. The 1955 Le Mans disaster, a 24-hour endurance race in which a multi car collision launched an engine block, hood, and other wreckage into a packed crowd of spectators, killing an estimated 84 people in total. This is the only Final Destination film that does not include any involvement from Tony Todd due to his scheduling conflicts with Transformers: Revenge of the Fallen. This is the only Final Destination film that was not filmed in Canada, the only film series to have two directors alternate between the first four films. James Wong directed Final Destination and Final Destination 3. David R. Ellis directed Final Destination 2 and this film. This is also the first Final Destination movie in the series to be presented in 3D, and currently is the highest grossing film in the series. The Rotten Tomatoes score for this movie is at a 27% currently. Variety magazine wrote, with an array of gory mayhem only marginally enhanced by 3D and a plot as developed as a text message, the Final Destination may finally sound the death knell for New Line's near immortal horror franchise. The Hollywood Reporter wrote, the new gimmick here is that all the flying body parts and absurd impalements come in 3D. And that's about as inspired as anything gets in this edition. Story and character get chucked to the sidelines as the arena has only room for death scenes. And from a reviewer on IMDb, they write, the characters were annoying, so was the cast, very annoying, with nearly every scene having deaths. There was a very small and fastened plot here, which ended up being a bad time.
Well, enough about them. What about us? Do we cash or pass the Final Destination? Tuan.
Yeah, I will definitely be passing on the Final Destination, that title. Yeah, this one out of everything was just kind of like the low point of the series, and we definitely pick up some steam as we continue along. But this one, yeah, just didn't really do it for me as far as as we go in the series here. The 3D was very unnecessary. I'm still saying I'm under the mind that I don't believe horror movies should be presented in 3D until you give me one that until I see one that like proves me wrong. I will keep saying that.
My
So
Bloody Valentine 3D?
no,
We'll get there. We'll get there.
I've seen that. No. Yeah, yeah. This one just still didn't really come up to bat compared to what we had previously. I didn't really like the premonition and the whole way that we even got to where we were with this movie. The acting was not on point here, and it felt cheap. Like it really felt cheap, which horror movie, but they don't. It doesn't have to feel that way or look that way.
Knowing what I know about the box office return for the next movie, it reminds me of this quote I heard from a reviewer that says, "The last movie in the franchise doesn't kill the series; the movie before that does." Because the box office reflection of the last movie is not because the last movie is bad. The next movie is good. This movie is bad. And if I was of a movie going audience at that time, after seeing this movie, The Final Destination in 3D, I would have not gone to go see the next movie. No matter how good someone told me it was, I would not have went and spent my money to go watch the next one after I've seen how horrible this one was. Because I would have no faith that the next one could be good because this is horrible. It's boring. Like that guy said, like the character's annoying, the plot's annoying, the actor's annoying. Like only one character made sense in this movie, and he got a rinse and repeat death that we had to sit through twice because the first one was a vision. Like, and the main guy was horrible. Like, this is a pass for me because this movie not only would have made me like mad as hell that I spent and wasted my money, but also would have ensured that I would have not have spent money to go see the next one. So this is a complete pass. But join us next week to hear our thoughts on Final Destination 5. Good night.
If you like this episode, please check out the Haddonfield Horror Podcast from big series like Friday the 13th, Halloween, and Saw, or our one-off reviews like The Blackening and Hereditary. You can follow Haddonfield Horrors on Instagram and TikTok, where the hosts post updates and mini-reviews. Full episodes are available on several podcasting platforms and YouTube. If you're listening to us on YouTube, please like and subscribe. The Haddonfield Horror Podcast is produced by Mark Smart,
Maria Perez,
Twan Griffin, and Elian Cordova. Themed by Lethal Injection and edited by Mark Smart.
The Haddonfield Horrors Podcast is a Letters to Media production.
Should we do an intro?